It's a company which is a wearable company for anybody who does not know, and it's a band with a sensor, right? You can imagine how many requests he gets about, oh, can it have a watch face? Why doesn't it not look like a watch? But the sentence that he said was that the moment we decide to put a face on it or a watch screen on it, the discussions will very quickly move from tracking your health to, oh, what watch face should we give it? And you're deviating away from the core problem, your core mission that you were set to solve.
Hi everyone, this is your host Himanshu, and today we have our guest Miss Anvika, who is a senior product manager at Cult.fit and looking after weight loss product portfolio. Other than being an amazing PM, she is like a wonder woman of writing as well. So if you are looking for a writing tip, do ping her on LinkedIn. But on today's episode, you are going to discover so many things about how she approaches product management and how she is planning to grow in her own career as a product manager. So without further ado, I want to welcome her on the show. Show में आपका स्वागत है Anvika.
Thanks, Himanshu. I think I really like the name. First of all, Humans of Product. Everybody is a huge fan of Humans of Bombay and whatnot. I think that was a very creative name. And I'm super excited to just have a fun conversation, get to know you a lot, and also learn in the process and add a lot of value.
I'm so excited as well. It's all my pleasure to have you here on the show today. And talking about the name, I feel that, yes, that was my inspiration as well. When I was looking at Humans of New York, I also felt that there are a lot of amazing folks in product space, and everyone should have access to their mind. And today we'll try to give access to your mind and how you think about it. So let's jump in. I want to start this conversation by understanding your journey, how you become PM for the very first time.
I guess now is the time when people straight up go into product management. I'm sure this was not the case several years ago. So I have a similar story. I was a graduate student in New York in Stony Brook, and like every other counterpart of mine, I was like, oh yeah, I have to apply for developer roles, right? Because that's what you do after your master's in computer science. I honestly never enjoyed coding. I'll be very, very honest. I know it may be stereotypical and whatnot, but I honestly never had my heart in it. But you're early on in your career, if all that's what you see, you're like, probably that's where I have to go, because I did not have a lot of other examples growing up. So yeah, I joined as a developer, and I was doing my day-to-day job, and then I used to hate the configurations that you need to make, specifically when you're like trying to deploy something. Now it might become easier because of all of these solutions that we have, but earlier your code is not running because there is one stupid configuration mistake. Like it used to get on my nerves, right? And at that point, I was just working in a project and we were massively delayed. So what that led to do was that, it put us in a war room together, and everybody on the team was in the same war room, right? And I was just like a junior developer. So most of my interactions before that had been with just my engineering manager, who used to tell me, theek hai, ye task kar do, wo task kar do. But then in that war room, I actually got to interact with the PM of my team, right? She was actively telling us some solutions. She was actively testing things out. And I got really fascinated, right? Like, what does she do? And at that time, this was not glamorous. This was not popular. And that's when, I also got to spend some time with her and really understood what her day-to-day life was. And I got really intrigued with, oh, okay, yes. And I was like, this sounds way more exciting than what I get to do, right? And anyways, as a developer, I was involved in the solutioning, and you would ask questions. Why are we building this? Why is this metrics? What metric is this gonna move, etc. So that gave me like that entry point into, oh yes, this is something that I'd really like to pursue, right? So that's how it started. I can go on into how did I land my first role, but this is like my first entry.
That's how you discovered that role named as product management exists. And
That's right.
So you started talking to that person and understanding that what does she do exactly. So as you mentioned that you were curious, but what did you like about her role as a PM?
I'll be very honest. I think I constantly used to evaluate what my strengths are and what I like to do in general. I'm better at these things. I'm not so good at these things. And these are the things that I absolutely do not enjoy. And when I saw her, I think she was telling us a schema or something. She was designing a schema or a table into which we needed to fill in the records. And I thought, yeah, this is interesting. I mean, thank God I don't have to like sit and configure this. I can just tell you the schema, or I can tell you what I want in a certain format, and then you go figure out how you need to bring it to me, right? And the part that I was struggling in my job was exactly how to get it done, right? That was the part I was not enjoying, but I was pretty much good at what to do and what format do I need it in, right? So I thought this is pretty interesting. She just comes and tells me that this is what I need. And I was like, yeah, I think this sounds fine. Of course, that's naive as well, because that did not give me an entire depth into what else she did behind the scenes, right? And also the timing, right? Because she was super into that execution mode at that moment. But whatever glimpse I saw, I really enjoyed that. And that led me to really understand, okay, what else do you do? Okay, this is not the fun part. This is the fun part. But yeah, more plus than minus. So here I am.
Very interesting. Tell me about that, how you cracked the first PM job and then how you has grown your career from there to finally a senior PM at Cult.
So after talking to her, she just told me, go by cracking the PM interview. And I have like that early edition, the orange book. And I went into it and I started reading, okay, these are the things. And then I went into like a rabbit hole of understanding what product management was. And back in 2017, honestly, there were not a lot of resources around this. You couldn't just find tons of articles like you do now to really understand the depth of this role, because probably even people were in the process of figuring it out themselves, right? And defining or streamlining what this role meant. But yeah, there were a couple of resources on, how do you need to think about the problem? How do you need to think about metrics? How do you need to, think about different products, right? And at that time, I had zero guidance. So all I thought was, I need to just read this book and I will probably understand what it means. And then I'm ready for interviews. This is how naive I was, right? And then I'll interview and then somebody will just take me. And boy, I was I was wrong, right? Just interviewing itself is a skill. Like you have to be, some people are so good, but they're just not that great at interviewing, right? I definitely struggled with a lot of interviews, and that's when I started to learn what was missing. I honestly did not have resources to figure out I need to use products first, because there was nobody to tell me. And right now, this might sound very, very weird to some people who are in this age where they're like, just product management is flooded and it's trending on Google searches. But genuinely back then, there was just nothing available. And when I started interviewing, I really found a few good people who guided me in the right direction. I was blurting things that I just read on the like in a book and using a lot of my common sense, right? But a PM is a lot more than that, right? There's several things that you need. And then eventually I started getting better because I was interviewing and at the end of every interview I used to ask, okay, can I get some feedback? I'm really trying to improve in this area. And my first manager, he was heavier on the marketing side, but since it was a startup, I got to do both marketing and product management. And he was Andy. It was a German startup, and he gave me the first opportunity to really learn on the job. I wouldn't say I was super skilled, but yes, I did know certain fundamentals. I was strong technically because of the recent technical background, and he honestly gave me a chance. And then, learning on the job was the best part. There were a lot of other peers who were amazing, and I got to learn from their experience. So that's how I at least opened the door for myself, and then eventually, you keep working on your skills and you keep improving. And it was slightly easier because you start with that execution side of things. So Scrum, all of that is like the easier side of things, to be very honest, for myself. And I was quick to learn on the job. And yeah, like that's how I made headway into this. I also want to call out one more person who's really helped me. There's this person called Derek, and he runs this cohort-based courses, right, where they help you prepare for interviews and stuff. And at that time, that startup was really small, and he worked so closely with me. He helped me prepare for my interviews, and I'm still very grateful to that person to really help me get that first job. So yeah.
So your first job was in US?
Yeah, so I never worked in India. I went to the US, did my master's, and from there, the first job was as a developer. And then I switched within like 11 months or something into product. So yeah.
So basically, a software developer and then a product manager right after that.
Yeah.
How did you got the assurity that this career will take you where you want to go? But have you read about it? Have you figured that PM is going to be something substantial as a role in organizations?
I really wish I'd done that. Looking back, yes, it does feel naive. But as I said, I did not want to be miserable at a job. Maybe some people, again, I'm very appreciative. I'm very grateful to be in that position, that even if it was not a very logical decision, I was able to make one. One thing I was sure was that this is technology. So technology was not going anywhere, right? So either if you are a PM or whatever, I was still in the technology field, which means I had a lot of opportunity. Second was you spend 8 to 10 hours at your job, right? Depending on the company that you work for. And being miserable constantly is not good for you. It's not good for the work that you put in. I've always been that person who wants to learn a lot and not be that person who's at like 40 and does not know what's going on, has no substance. That was my biggest fear in life. I did not want to be at a place where, oh, isko kuch nahi aata, pata nahi kaise 40 years mein she's become some director. Like I cannot take that. And I was like, if I keep doing it, I'm not going to invest my 100%. I'm not learning because I have no interest and I'm not happy, right? Should I try something that or at least give myself a shot where I could do something better with my skills and add value? तो तब वो डिसीजन लिया कि हाँ ठीक है, जाते हैं प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट में. I didn't know it's going to be big. I didn't know it's going to become one of the most, exciting career for so many people. But I also knew that, ठीक है यार, if I'm not able to do it, I can come back to technology. मतलब अगर मैं एक साल में switch करके एक completely new role में जा सकती हूँ, तो I can always come back and code.
So very interesting and amazing transition, and the how you thought about it and navigated, and then had your backup planned as well. That if this didn't work out, I think very reasonable according to me. And the learning part is also very important. You can't be only keep sitting in one role and doing the job as they asked to. You have to keep learning. Tell me, what do you do to become 1% better PM every day?
I think upskilling is must for any role. Matlab, you don't have to be a PM to constantly upskill, but I think it's very important to constantly upskill yourself, right? So in general, I try to honestly learn from not just like other fellow PMs. I just try to learn from anywhere, right? Jaise, one of the skills is communication. You need to be a great communicator, right? So you can watch a lot of like people who give, let's say, TED Talks, or people who are in politics, and they influence a lot of people in the crowd, right? So what can you learn from them? How do they talk? Where do they give those pauses? Which words do they emphasize, right? So I think I try to do that a lot, trying to learn from people that I personally admire. Like Satya Nadella is someone, I know it might sound cliche, but he does speak very well. He's a great orator. So that's one thing that I do. Second is just constantly reading, right? There's just so many newsletters coming up, not just about PMing, but also what are the different trends that are happening? What is the different industry that's coming up? That's number two. Third is I write a lot myself. So that requires a lot of research. So I spend a lot of time doing that. And it also gives you a lot of clarity. When you have to write something for people, you need to have that clarity in your head as well. So that is the third thing. And fourth is just using products yourself, right? I regularly go to the App Store, see key. How is the copy written? How are they communicating with me? Where is my attention gravitating? Why is it gravitating there? Right? What is the top app right now? Why is it the top app? And then try to use a couple of them, because I think it's very exciting. Like I mean, when some people crack certain things, I think it just makes me very happy. I get very excited. So I think, yeah, these are the four things that I particularly do. One thing that I would like to do more is talk to a lot more people. I think that's why, like, I'm on the podcast as well. I get to learn from you as well. So yeah, that's something I'd like to do more. But yeah, I think 5 things to constantly upskill.
Yeah, as you mentioned, 5 things. So 4 you have mentioned. 5th is obviously reading my LinkedIn post of becoming 1% better PM.
Yeah, like I like that. Like I told you before as well, right? Not just for the podcast, that Uber question was interesting. So
that's like subtly pitching that I write a lot of good posts on LinkedIn. # shameless promotion. So very interesting. I think a lot of research, a lot of writing, a lot of reading, meeting fellow PMs, and looking at other products and how they are doing things. All are beautiful examples, and I think every aspiring or early PM in their career, they should do these things so that they can actually become better. So tell me, what is product management according to you?
I just feel like your first and only job is to build the right thing. By right, it means whatever a customer needs should suit your business and you're making money out of it. And it's improving lives, right? That's what I mean by right. You shouldn't care about, oh, I did this better or I did this better, if you've not been able to build the right product. I think that's the biggest onus on you, on your shoulders. And I think you should take that very, very seriously. And once you've figured out that, yes, this is the right thing to build, That's when you should execute it beautifully. You should execute it right. And anything that comes in between the first and the last stage, anything that requires to make both of these things happen is your job. So yeah, that's how I define PM.
It's actually one of the most beautiful definition I heard about product management. Building the right thing, explaining the right properly, what it has to serve customer, it has to serve business at the same point of time, creating value for both, as you mentioned. And obviously get done everything whichever coming in between to make this successful. Once obviously you execute it, then analyzing that have you done the right thing or not. If you're taking decisions or building something and you could have been wrong 2 times today, but eventually you will be less wrong in the future as you're making more decisions, doing more analysis. So I think that's a wonderful direction of thinking as a PM. There's a lot of similarity between an entrepreneur and product manager, according to me. I feel the way entrepreneur plans that they saw a gap, which is like a pain point in the customer's life with respect to some category, some industry, and then they go after solving it, making money for the business. And they get done everything around that to make that reality. That is the reason this product management role is very exhaustive in its nature.
I'll just give you an example. I do want to insert this. Founder of Whoop, it's a company which is a wearable company for anybody who does not know, and it's a band with a sensor, right? They track all of your body measurements, and they believe in providing insights about actionable insights, in fact, for you to improve your health on a daily basis, right? There's one paragraph that he was saying, right? So it's a band with a sensor, right? You can imagine how many requests he gets about, oh, can it have a watch face? Why doesn't it not look like a watch? Why are you not making it a watch, right? But the sentence that he said was that the moment we decide to put a face on it or a watch screen on it, the discussions will very quickly move from tracking your health to, oh, what watch face should we give it? Oh, what notification should come in? What app should be put in? And you're deviating away from the core problem, your core mission that you were set to, you set to solve. And that was so powerful to me. A lot of people or a lot of companies for that matter just move into, watch bik raha hai, let me go sell watches now, or let me go do this now because this is selling like hotcakes. But really staying core to the problem is an amazing quality. And I could think about this because you brought entrepreneurs and product managers in a similar light. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what you have to do. When we answer these questions about, oh, this is the mission of the company, we probably may take it lightly, but this is where your mission, your vision, or your values come into play. From distracting you to building that notification and sticking to solving that core problem that you are set to solve, and also add value.
That was a beautiful example. This is going to stay with me for a very long time. I think thanks for sharing that. I want to understand how you help yourself to go after the right problem when you are approaching any product problem to solve.
As I study more around strategy, I just feel like the best way is to, first of all, ask yourself why. Like those 5 whys are super important. Because the more you go to the deeper levels, there are a lot of questions that you answer for yourself as well, right? And there's great value in that, because after a while, after like, let's say the second why, it's very difficult to have a superficial answer. It will definitely push you to go deeper and question that thinking or your reasoning, right? And it's very difficult to get to 5 whys without finding a substantial answer. So that's one procedure that I do always. Second is always think about why are we doing something now, right? For me, let's say you come and tell me, oh, let's do this today, right? Any change in decision or direction should have a change in one of the inputs that you took before, or add inputs that led to that output before, right? You simply can't change outputs without any change in input. So either, just as an example, right? Earlier, my product was very online because we launched during the pandemic. Everybody was very concerned about lifestyle diseases, and most of these lifestyle diseases are because of essentially weight, to be very honest, right? But as the world started opening up, the input parameter that changed for us was people were wanting to go outside. They did not just want to stick to a solution which was completely online, right? So taking that change in input, which was the change in external circumstances, I had to evaluate what changes does it bring for me, right? How do I need to make those changes in my product to get the best outcome possible? Third is, what is the, of course, you're going to look at a lot of data, so I'm not going to even talk about that. That's very basic common sense. You are going to look at all the data points, what's changing. And I think that's partially covered in the second answer. And third is the opportunity cost, right? If you don't do this today, or if you choose to do this today, what are you sacrificing on, right? People just come and tell me, oh, let's build this. But I'm like, why? What are you moving because of this, right? So like really truly understanding the impact this is going to have, and not just the impact this is going to have on being built, but what are you missing out on? Because the moment you choose to build something, you're choosing to not build something else, right? So what will be that opportunity cost, right? So I think just looking at these three things in particular, the fourth aspect will be the competitive landscape, right? But again, I'm not a proponent, and I've seen this happen recently too much, that there's no original thinking. If you look at Instamart, Zepto, and Blinkit, their pages look exactly the same. And probably users don't care, right? Because they are looking for the lowest price. But you don't know how did they arrive at that page in the first place. Like, is that probably that trial thing that they are struggling to increase the conversion of, or is that really a successful page? So I'm not a huge proponent of just looking at what competitors do and just simply copy, but yes, like understanding, okay, I'm seeing a lot of offline things pop up. Should we consider it, right? So that could be a source of ideas, but it should not be something that you just simply go and copy. So these are the four things at the top of my head. Let me know if I've missed something, but
I think you were bang on, and what an amazing examples you have given, and the thought process is apt. I think if I just summarize it, I would say asking why now itself is good enough, and to support these two, you will use customer voice data. And obviously the other benchmarking studies or marketing insights you have. I think like those act as an input, but getting the answer to why and why now will help you to decide, obviously, is it right or not right? How I also portray it is, be friends with your customer. Spend so much time with your customer that becoming literally the voice of that person. Customers can be of broader to niche like segmentation. And obviously, I think people should segment their users really well. Once they segment their users really well and they spend so much time with it, it's very easy for them to decide what is right, what is not right. Tell me how your day looks like as a product manager.
So I go in pretty early, also like just to skip traffic on the days that I need to go to the office. I'm a huge proponent of taking important meetings in person, because there's a lot that you can learn, and there's a lot that people absorb more than just your face, right? There's a lot of body language. I think there's the understanding that happens a lot better, especially early on when you're still building those relationships. I feel like that in-person connect is very important. So that being said, I go into the office pretty early, and there's usually nobody, so I get to spend a couple of like 1.5 hours with myself, with a cup of tea. I'd like to read what's going on, or if there's something important that I need to prepare for that day, I would do that instead of reading. So that is the focus time that I get for myself. And then once people start coming in, there's just these daily meetings with several stakeholders. You'll have your stand-up, you'll have different discussions just with your stakeholders, right? So I have different SMEs, like mine is a very ops-heavy product, as you would already know, right? So just talking to different SMEs, be it nutrition, be it fitness, psychology. I spend some time doing that. Because they're also very close to our coaches who handle our end users. And coaches are also my stakeholder, right? Delivering a great experience for my coaches means that my users will get the best experience, right? So just knowing how's the general thought process, what's going on, what are some of their pain points, etc. Then definitely thinking for the road ahead, looking at the strategy, or let's say if there is a metric presentation, preparing for that. So I think that's pretty regular, right? Like your meetings can be broken down into 3 or 4 types, right? Where you're running a meeting with your team, which is usually a set of engineers or different ops people, just to learn about the product, just to learn about something that you've built and getting feedback, or telling them what you're building, or answering questions. So that's one execution side of meeting. Stand-ups, everything is included into that. Second is where you're talking to different stakeholders, trying to convince them of what is the path ahead, right? And third is general meetings with other product managers, what's going on, how is something that they are doing impacting you. So that's the third set of meetings that you probably have during the day, right? Then I try to wrap things up by 5, because again, I don't want to be stuck in traffic. So I bring back work. I would eventually not want to do that because I start my day early as well. But yeah, I come back by 5. I take my evening walk very, very seriously because that's the time I get to spend with myself. It's very important to me. I get some thinking time, or maybe I just get time to wind down from a hectic day. And then I spend 1 hour or so just working on things. There are 2 other meetings that I missed. One is one-on-ones with my manager. Mentorship is very, very important to me. I feel like you can just learn so much just having a good mentor in your life. So just catching up on how I'm feeling, how things are going, that's an important meeting for me, and I like to prepare for that. And the last one is usually on Fridays. I'd like to set up some 2 hours each week to speak to customers, right? Sometimes it's set up by the customer support team. Sometimes I just call the coaches myself because they are also my users. It can also be just sending out an NPS survey and just analyzing those responses, right? So just spending that time is equally important. So I think, yeah, that's how, overall in a gist, my day looks like. Or a week looks like, rather.
Obviously, as you mentioned, the everyday of in the life of a product manager cannot be same, and you have so much varied tasks on a daily basis. So that keeps the joy also alive in this role, and it breaks the monotony, obviously, which helps us to do even more innovative or creative work on a day-to-day basis. I think fair. It's a better way to put it. It's not a day; it's a week actually. How it looks like. I think yes. As you mentioned, you're working on a weight loss product at Cult.fit. What are you working on?
It's called Cult Transform. It is a weight loss product, and we try to build a program which is based on cognitive behavioral therapy. To simplify that, it's essentially how can you build a system around yourself so that staying healthy becomes your identity. The biggest problem that happens is most people, there are two types of people who want to lose weight, right? One is a person who has a wedding and they are like, oh, I just want to like look snatched for in the next 3 months. And that's a very common behavior everywhere. And second is a person who just probably got a health scare, COVID, for example, right? And then they are like, oh no, I need to bring that lasting change, right? Of course, I would like to tackle these two in a different way. And primarily, we look for people who want to drive that long-term sustainable change, right? Where you have understood that it's not a day's game, it is not a month's game. You have to start living a healthy lifestyle, that right? So we've built a product around creating a system around you by tackling all four pillars. Because weight loss is not just going to the gym. Most people, 70% of the people, oh, मेरे को weight lose करना है, हाँ मेरे को बस gym जाना पड़ेगा. That is the thought process, right? Because nutrition is hard. It's very difficult to eat healthy. It's very difficult. So ये sort of norm बन गया है लोगों के दिमाग में कि वो हाँ मेरे को बस gym जाना है, right? Doesn't work like that. 70% is the food that you put inside your body. And on top of that, at a higher level, right, there's sleep and stress as well. When you're not sleeping, your hormones that make you feel hungry are through the roof and you will feel like eating more. That's why, at night you think like, oh, मेरे को भूख लग रही है. तो मैं भूख नहीं लग रही है. Your hormone that's activated, right? So we try to tackle weight loss holistically by, working on all four pillars. And then we try to build a system around this so that eventually, once your pack is over, you don't come back and say, oh, I've put on weight again. You try to imbibe that and carry that lifestyle with you for, hopefully forever, so that, you keep that weight off. So yeah, that's in short about the product.
As you mentioned very clearly, people think that they have to go to gym to lose a weight, but because nutrition is hard. Which is more hard according to you as per user? Nutrition or exercise?
I think it's a little circumstantial. That's why, during our onboarding, we do ask people to answer a set of questions and give them a score in each of the four pillars that I just described earlier. Because agar aap akele rehte ho, and you don't have a help for whatever reason, right? Sometimes food becomes very challenging to you. I cannot imagine working 12, 13 hours a day and then just cooking in the house, no matter how much I value nutrition, right? And the other way to look at it is, you've never been to a gym, you're coming from a small place, maybe XYZ reason, right? And you're like, no. And a lot of people have this mental stigma as well, right? Oh no, I'll get injured. Oh, wo mujh pe dhyan nahi dega. I have to figure everything on my own. And if I get injured or if I get a heart attack because of whatever is happening right now. So there can be different stigmas. So, and my job is to not stereotype people. But it's important to understand fundamentally that ये मत सोचो कि सिर्फ मेरे को fitness करना है या मेरे को सिर्फ nutrition करना है. That should be the bottom line. Your bottom line should be I have to work equally in all of these areas to be able to, achieve those goals. So that's how I would like to put it.
Other than obviously, as you mentioned, looking snatched, which is a very good line for people who wanted to lose weight. But is the program trying to solve the first basic question, why you need to lose a weight?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So one insight is that when you explain people, right, why you should do certain things, जब आप explain करते हो लोगों को कि हम ऐसे ही आपको कुछ भी खाने को नहीं बोल रहे हैं. The reason we are asking you to eat fiber first is so that you feel fuller first, like faster. Sorry. So if you feel fuller faster, then you're not going to eat that, extra katori of rice because your body has told you to not eat, right? So the moment you go and explain the why, it helps with two things, right? आपको समझ आता है कि हाँ ये करना चाहिए, and when you get a reasoning in your head why you should be doing something. And second is you also start trusting your coach, as in हाँ this person is talking sense, इसको कुछ पता है. And the moment you find someone जिसकी advice आप लेना चाहते हो या आप सोचते हो हाँ ये इसमें expert है, you want to take that advice as well. So it works in both ways. So we've seen this to work wonderfully when you explain it to users why you should be doing certain things. There's a reason I'm asking you to sleep at 11, right? And I think the same works with kids, right? They're very curious. Why should I do this? Why should I do this? And the moment you're able to satisfy that curiosity, I don't think you need to beat them up. Oh, that's why you need to sleep, because they understand.
What are the customer insights you have learned to finally shape this program?
First is weight loss is very, very personal. I think जब आपको कोई छोटी सी प्रॉब्लम होती है, right? जैसे ओ मेरे को हेयर फॉल हो रहा है, and at that moment that problem is so big for you, and just understanding that depth कि एक लड़की जिसको PCOS है, she's overweight, how emotional is this for her? I was speaking to a customer and she just cried so much in the user call, right? And आपको तब समझ में आता है कि कितना पर्सनल होता है एक यूजर के लिए. You'll be like हाँ ठीक से खाना खा लो. It's very easy to just give that knowledge कि अरे knowledge they also know. It's about meeting them where they are, right? And that was one insight that we initially started with. Our coaches try to meet you where you are, really empathize you and not make you feel bad. Oh, तुम इतने मतलब heavy हो अभी तो कैसे weight loss होगा? Doesn't work like that. And what works for Himanshu may not work for Ravi. You have to really understand the entire lifestyle of Ravi to be able to create those interventions throughout the day. And that's why we call it coaching. There's a lot of coaching involved to help you. How can you make those changes? बहुत बार आपके पास restrictions होते हैं because of your lifestyle, but it's a right coach helps you navigate those challenges, right? That was the first insight. Second was kuch bhi for motivation, right? You always need to keep coming up with something new. Users get bored very quickly. The moment you launch a new feature, you'll actually see quite an uptick for a certain amount of time, but then they start getting used to it and you have to constantly think of something new to keep them motivated. So that's the second thing. Like, just as an example, you should be recording your weight on a weekly basis, right? And we had to actually come up with 1, 2, 3, 4 different iterations of the feature. Not because the first one did not work. It did work for some time, but then the users got used to it and, the usage slipped. That was yet another insight. So it's not like, you just arrive. You never arrive probably in such a product where, users have to constantly stay motivated. Third is a lot around, different psychology hacks and how they work. I think that was very, very interesting for me to learn. Just a small example, a commitment device. If a person posts about, oh, I'm going to be consistent, I will not eat sugar this week on, let's say, like a closed group, right? It could be a WhatsApp group of people they know of some sorts, like, they're in the same journey. People tend to be a lot more consistent and these things actually work, right? So learning about these little psychology hacks that you can use for helping the users, not trying to use it in a wrong way. I think every product manager should be extremely mindful of not using hacks to exploit your users, right? but helping them get better. I think that's the third one, like how you can use psychology in a really, really positive way to bring that positive change. So yeah, these are like three at the top of my head, but I'm sure there's just a gazillion. Um,
I completely agree. I can vouch for all of them, though I'm recently felt the last one as well. That once you committed something in public, like I committed that I'll be posting 100 questions into product space almost on a daily basis. I think that changed the game for me. Like now I cannot go back, and it's like, oh, it's okay even if I don't do it. No, I have to. I like promised, and sometimes because these kind of promises to yourself, but committing in public with a positive appreciation from people around you and having a community around that, great support to move into that direction. Tell me something about any insight which helped you to that you were about to make a product like certain way, but after having that insight and learning more about that insight, your product approach completely changed.
I think we were redesigning our, let's say, the landing page, right? In one of my like features, let's say. And usually, if you look at most landing pages, what they show you is a very nice video explaining the product, right? Oh, we have this, we have that, and it's engaging, etc. And I was like, yeah, that's how it should be. And after the video, you will have your features and then your social proof and stats, etc. So I think everything was in place. But what clicked after speaking to one or two people who were more on the growth, like on the growth side of things, they said, what do people look when they look at a weight loss product? They look at before and after. And that was like I don't know if it was an aha moment of some sorts. Yes, probably that's right. So instead of the video, they said, why don't you put before and after of all the users that have achieved weight loss through the program? Yeah, and it just improved conversions like crazy. Like it was through the roof just because of that one small change. So maybe that's an insight. Like customers are looking for show me results, whether this program is going to get me results or not. So yeah,
you have basically showed them the final outcome with respect to themselves, how it will look in the end. I also got an interesting idea that if you ask your customer, a user basically, to upload a photo of theirs, and it will be able to show an outcome photo of their image, they will be able to see themselves into that. And then you show instantly, to reach here, you have to do these 7 things religiously. It's a very nominal price, and we will help you with everything, and bang on.
I think that's a great idea. Noom does this already. Like if you go on their platform, it does it differently. Like it'll show you, yeah, you can lose this much weight in this much time. But I think what you suggested is much,
More
probably
visual.
I can ask. Yeah,
More
it's very
visual.
visual. Very it appeals to the senses a lot more. Maybe I can ask Dali to create like this person in 9 months, and probably it'll create it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
product teams are generally trying to push the features because they have to show it to the entire organization that they are working on some newer ideas or newer things. They identified the newer problems, but it's not always the case. All problems do not get solved with the products, or even some problems will get solved, or you can stay on the lane to achieve the vision by removing some features, actually, by making it lighter and adding value with the different mediums. So how do you tackle that at Cult.fit?
Surprisingly, like my product is very, very early. So I'm at a stage where I really need to tackle a lot of problems. So all of them have impact, right? Because it's very early. It's not a mature product. This typically starts happening when your product is really mature. But again, I feel like there's always something to iterate on. If you're constantly looking at your data, your life cycle of the product always has opportunities. I like to call it life cycle opportunities, right? There's always something that you can improve, right? So we are definitely very paranoid about impact. It is not just building something, but impact is something that we always look for, right? So we don't look at things like, oh, create a feature factory. It's a very OKR focused process, and we do need to show impact, right? And when we are like planning for the OKRs, the question just comes up, so why are you building this? Like, I don't care for that impact, for if it's very small, let's say, right? Or if it's just very incremental. Where else can we spend that energy, or where else can we spend that time, right? So unfortunately, it doesn't happen, or hasn't happened for my product yet. But again, you should just constantly look at what should you be solving, or what is the most important problem that you should be solving for. And like you said, it could also just be sunsetting a feature, right? And sunsetting is not just turning a feature off. There's a lot of things that you need to do even for the sunsetting process, for example. So yes, there are times when you may feel like, oh, I don't have work for the engineers, for example. But it happens rarely, I'd say, right? Because everybody, I'm sure you're always bombarded with ops. Oh, please, ye kar do, ye kar do. And I think the problem is always more on having too many things on your plate, instead of having rather than having just oh, I really don't have anything to do for. Then probably you need to find a better product, or find a better place where the work is not very interesting, or you're not growing. But for the former, I think you have to be extremely paranoid about impact. When people come to me with feature requests, I just try to understand where they are coming from. Why are they? What is the problem that they are solving? Another thing that you would see is people just come, "Ye build kar do." But kyun? Like, what are you trying to solve, right? That's number one. And second, what impact is this going to bring, right? So, for example, we were trying to build something. I just got a random request. Chalo, ye build kar dete hain. This will facilitate people to sell more. But then I was like, no, I'm sorry, you've not been able to show me that. First of all, generate that revenue, right? For me to be able to invest in this, I have a gazillion other things on my plate. You've not shown me X amount of revenue to the, like, to say the least, and you're asking me to build something. But then what if it is not going to sell itself? Like, you've not shown me that this could sell, but you're asking me to build something. And then what if, you are said it doesn't go through, right? So when you challenge people, when you really make them think, most times even they are also very logical. They want the product to succeed, right? So they also understand, oh yes, that makes a lot of sense, and that's why we should be prioritizing something else. So you should just look at impact as a product manager.
I'll just want to refer the definition you gave. Do everything what is required to make an impact on the lives of two things. One is business and one is customer. I think well summarized. Do tell me about your interview process at Cult.
Again, just a little disclaimer, things can be different for different pods. And I interviewed almost a year back, so probably more. So things keep changing as well. I had to go through 4 rounds of interviews. First is with your hiring manager. Second is with your engineering manager, so that they can gauge whether you're the right fit for the team, whether you have the right product sense. And third, can you really interact with the engineering teams with that level of technical skills that you need, right? And then the third is with a more senior, like a director, VP level, where they gauge your behavioral interview questions, right? Just to understand you better. How can you do conflict resolution, your soft skills essentially, and also give you a problem statement to see your thinking. That's the third round. And fourth is also again with senior leadership, just to see whether you're the right fit for the organization, etc. So it was 4 rounds in total. No guesstimate questions per se for me. The same product questions, behavioral questions, and a cultural fit. So yeah.
So product, RCA questions like general. Can I say that they were genuinely trying to assess your experience and more relevant to cult context? Or is it very general, open, like design YouTube for kids kind of questions?
No, I think it was a mix of both. The first one is a lot more open and a lot more not very specific to cult, but eventually, like at the third, it also turns close to, how can you work towards improving cult as well. So it's a mix of both.
Got it. Finally, a rapid fire time. It's very fun beyond the life of a product manager, who we are as people. You have to choose between money, power, fame, and why.
I think I'd love to go with money right now because I want to like retire early, just sit and read my book, be on my own schedule. So I'd love to first get to that, and then I can see what comes. I'm sure, and I don't want fame. I don't like a lot of extra attention on myself, so that's not coming. But yeah, right now I'll pick money.
Okay, fair. Let's say अगर PM ना होती तो क्या होती?
मैं फैशन में जाना चाहती थी. You won't believe at 5 years of age, I was practicing ramp walks. Not that I want to be a model, but yes, I love fashion in general. I really like fashion, so I'd do something in that.
तो fashion में model नहीं होती because you do not like fame and attention. But fashion में maybe fashion designer या फिर event creators in fashion, like where other people can actually
where I get to wear the nicest clothes. And they stay with me. I don't take it away. Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you a few words and only funny answers are allowed. Okay.
I'm not a funny person, I will see.
Customer.
Please use my features more.
Okay. That's what you wanted to say to them. So yes. I asked a friend of mine, he said Bhagwan. Customer.
Okay, great. Yes. I did close my hands like this. So yeah, Bhagwan.
Yeah. Any stakeholder? Sharks.
Just eat you up. They just eat you up. That's why.
Okay. MVP.
A bicycle. Because that's the example I can think of instead of shipping a car.
I think that's a good analogy to it. So, tell me, startup or big tech? Which one you desire more?
I think I've worked for a lot of startups. I've worked for a lot of startups. Like all my career, I've just probably worked for startups. So I would like to see how is it in big tech.
Okay. And what's your dream company?
I think Figma would be one. Ab Adobe ke baad, I don't know. This is an answer before Adobe, but I genuinely find that product would be like it's an amazing product. Like just very, very smartly designed, very beautifully designed. Yeah.
Someone earlier on the episode also said the same thing, exact same thing, like Figma, but after Adobe, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know, but yeah.
But I think there must be something that Adobe is very enterprise types and Figma is very innovation driven. So that's the thought process gap maybe. So you have to put one offer, you have to accept one offer, you have to put one offer on hold and one basically reject from all three companies. One is Google, one is Figma, and one is Meta.
So one I have to reject.
One you have to reject, one you have to accept, one you have to put on hold.
I think I'll accept Figma. And I can see the psychology that's playing in my head because I just confirmed that Figma is my best company. So I'm feeling very conflicted, but we'll say Figma because I want to be consistent. On reject would be Meta right now, just because of the state of the affairs, honestly. But Meta is a great product company. And hold would be Google. Yeah, I just want to change it. I want to accept Google. I give up. But I also don't necessarily aligned with Google products a lot as well. So when this moral decision comes, I will honestly think it's a great feeling that, you got accepted, you're a Googler and whatnot. But honestly, I do not resonate with a lot of Google products. So depends on what product it is for. But yeah, I'd like to keep that on. I would like to accept Google. Figma would be on hold. Now I have a reason, because he got accepted by, like, they merged with Adobe, so my heart will be like, get up there. And reject would be Meta, because just of like, I just feel like they need a lot more clarity, and I don't know how and where Metaverse is genuinely going.
Okay. Which is like one movie you really like?
I think Top Gun Maverick would be great. Yeah, okay. I think that's at the top of my head, and very good movie.
Do you also watch biographies or business movies like Social Network types?
Yeah, there is this series called Dirty Money. I just want them to come up with season 3. They haven't in a while, but they talk about all of these financial, like, really crazy things that happen, right? And I think that's super exciting. Super exciting to watch.
I'm adding it to my list.
It's amazing. You should watch Dirty Money. It's very nice.
So one book you really love, as you're a writer, you're a reader, one book you really love?
I think there's this book called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. Reading it recently. Very, very, very good book. It's not about being sassy. I'm not trying to be feminist here, but there are reservations that women grow up with. And it was great advice. I keep going back to it. I want to keep imbibing and learning. One is reading and one is like really being able to act on it. I think it's a great book.
Okay. Imagine if you get a chance to have your own book. What would be the title of that book?
Geez, like, this is a very complicated question. This should not be rapid fire. I don't know. I can give you the guidelines. I would want it to be extremely relatable. The agenda should be that anybody coming from like anywhere should just feel that they can do it too if I make it. I think that's what I would like to communicate. And I want New York to be somewhere associated, because that's very, very close to my heart.
Okay. But one name if you have to give me.
I'll just say Becca, and that used to be my pen name. I used to use it a lot when I was in New York. And I was a very different person. I thought I wanted very different things in life at that moment. And ever since I moved to India, I discovered a different side of myself. So I think, to that immature girl, I think I'd call it Becca. Yeah.
Okay. It's a good name. Becca means something. What is the meaning?
No, it doesn't. So in the US, like, people would just pronounce my name as Anvika or Becca. Like, it sounds to that. So I was like, yeah, sure. Let me just have a small name.
I don't want to say this, but I'm not able to control myself. So we can put it like Becca. Waka. So one product leader or business leader you follow?
I think I really like Anuj Rathi, because I really like Swiggy as a product in general. And I know he was there early on. He doesn't like talk so much or write so much as other folks available, but he does come on one or two of the podcasts, and I've learned a lot from him. Just like a simple example is understanding context. Before this, I did not think it from that perspective, right? So I think I'm intrigued about him. I don't know much, but I really like what he teaches and what he's built. And I would have loved to have a mentor like that, honestly. So yeah, I think that's one person.
Got it. This has been amazing. I had a lovely time chatting today with you, Anvika. Great examples, analogies, insightful frameworks, and defined factors in a very structured way to think about how basically to approach the product management in general, how to approach the career, where you want to go, how you're improving yourself. Amazing conversation. I loved so much. I had one of the best. days, I would say. Is there anyone you want to say thank you for your career?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for inviting. I think this was amazing. I'm pretty excited, pretty happy, and I hope I could add value to anybody who's giving us the time to listen, right? I think lots of people to thank, right? I don't want to take any names, but I am where I am because my parents cheer me a lot. My brother is always like there for me. And I think that's been the bright side of things when after moving from New York. I think that's probably a biggest plus point to be able to live closer to family. I think like my husband, to say the least, he's always he understands me, he knows me. Those are just very close people, but I think everybody that I've worked with, honestly, indirectly or directly, I'm extremely grateful for, first of all, people to create such opportunities so that you can express yourself. Second, anybody who devotes their precious time to really go through these things. And third, anybody who's helped me to learn in general, right? It's not like I just learn from my manager, but I learn from even a coach sometimes, because they're just so creative in what they do. So I guess that's everybody. Without that interaction, I probably wouldn't be where I am. So yeah, and thanks to you for this opportunity.
Pleasure. I cannot be more happier to have you here today. And like, I know the world is going to see a very small amount of conversation we had, but I had a lovely time. So I want to say thank you to the entire audience. If you guys are watching this video and you hadn't learned something, and I must suggest that you should tell us what you are liking in the comments. And you want to basically reach to Anvika, ping her on LinkedIn. She's open to help any one of you in the right direction, where if you want to proceed in your product management career or in writing in general. If you actually love this video and you want to help other aspiring product manager, early product management, do share this video at least with one aspiring PM or one early PM so that they can improve in their career. With that thought, I would like to say bye-bye. See you in the next episode. Till then, have a great time.